We'll start off with the flap control system in the MiG-3 because it's different than what you're used to. Here we have a max flap angle and a flap angle limiter. If I hold the retract flaps button, it's going to decrease my maximum flap angle. Then if I extend the flaps are going to come down to that angle. And then if I want to have the flaps go out even further, I hold down the extend flaps button, and that's going to increase the flap angle. Then if I retract the flaps, it's going to bring them all the way up. Next is the water radiator and its position indicator. All the way to the right is open, and all the way to the left is closed. Moving up, there's the throttle. Then below that is the mixture. You have the intermediate position, which is used for normal operations, and then if you push it all the way forward to maximum, you're going to get a maximum boost for about 10 minutes. Then we have RPM control. Rotating it forward will give you high RPM and back is low RPM. Moving to the front panel, we have an altimeter, magnetic compass, artificial horizon, manifold pressure, fuel gauge, airspeed indicator, turn and bank indicator, vertical speed indicator, tachometer, oil temperature with split oil and fuel pressure, landing gear control, and clock, air pressure gauge, landing gear position, red is up, blank is transition, and green is down, water temperature indicator, oil temperature indicator, oil radiator, all the way up is open, and all the way down is closed. Moving over to the right, we have the rocket control panel, cockpit and instrument lighting, landing light, and navigation lights. Coming down to our lower right, we have the rudder trim. Moving it forward moves the nose to the right, and back will bring the nose to the left. An elevator trim. Moving it back will bring the nose up, and pushing it forward will bring the nose down. So again, in order to start up the airplane, all we need to do is hit E, and it will begin the automated startup sequence. Now the airplane started, we can begin our taxi over to the runway, adding some power. Let the airplane start rolling, and we can reduce the power a bit once we get going, and we'll get back to the runway. When taxiing the MiG-3, it has a tail wheel system where if you apply more than about half the rudder pressure, it's going to unlock the tail wheel. So if you want to make a tighter turn, push more than half the flexion, you can let the airplane swing around, and you get opposite rudder and power is required to come to a stop on your required heading. Then once you're lined up where you want to be, let the rudders come back to center, roll forward a little bit, and the tail wheel will lock. So now we'll prepare for takeoff. We'll start by closing the canopy, putting the water radiator to the full open position. Make sure you'll be in the intermediate position, RPM to maximum. Then we'll come over to the right and open the oil radiator to the full open position. Then rudder trim will make 1/4 turn back for -20%. Elevator trim will be neutral. Then we'll apply power nice and gradually, and we'll rotate at about 190 km/h. And start gradually increasing the throttle nice and smoothly. And once the airplane starts rolling, you're going to have to use some left rudder to keep it straight on the runway. Let it start accelerating. Then you can start slowly adding some forward pressure on the stick to bring the tail wheel off the ground. Start accelerating even more. You get to around 190 km/h. That's the back pressure. And you rotate. Once you rate, you get the landing gear up. And you can accelerate to about 240 to 250 km/h for your cruise climb. We'll stay in the pattern, and we'll continue climbing up to the pattern altitude, and we'll go through the landing procedure. So to land the MiG-3, you're going to set your manifold pressure to between 4 and 5 with RPM to maximum. Rear speed is going to be between 280 and 300 km/h. And once you're below 300, you can put the landing gear down. Then I'll close the water radiator and close the oil radiator. By the end of downwind, you should be below 230 km/h. The flap extension is a personal preference. I like to use 4 flaps, so I don't use the angle limiter. However, if I was landing in a strong crosswind, then I would use the angle limiter to prevent it deploying more than half the amount of flaps. Once the airplane has the flaps out, it will slow to 200 km/h, and that'll be our speed for the base to final turn. So now we're established on downwind below 300 km/h, we can extend the landing gear. Extra drag will slow us down. I'm going to close the water and oil radiators completely. I'm going to maintain our altitude and begin the process of slowing down to around 230 km/h by the end of downwind. Now around this point, midfield, you could start extending some flaps if you wanted to, and you have the flap angle limiter set up for that. However, my flap angle is set to maximum, so once I reach the end of downwind, and I'm about 230 km/h, I'm going to extend the flaps. That's going to create a pitch change. So I'm going to add some forward pressure to keep the plane coming down. And I'm going to slow it down to 200 km/h and begin my base to final turn. Just like always, visualizing where your aiming point is going to be, and adjusting your pitch and your power to maintain the desired airspeed of 200 km/h. Now that I'm coming around on final, the aiming point will become a little bit more clearer, and I can lock it in on the windscreen and keep flying towards it. Start getting closer, begin the round out, reducing the power. Let the airplane start decelerating, get in the 3-point position. Now as you touch down, you're going to get full back pressure and start applying the brakes. Then you may need to do stabbing motions with the rudder to keep the airplane straight on the runway. As you start slowing down, the airplane will become easier to control and to keep straight. Now once you're at a slow enough speed, you can open the canopy and retract the flaps and taxi to parking. That was the familiarization video for the MiG-3. If you liked it, hit the like button and comment, and you can watch more videos by clicking the videos here, and you can subscribe by clicking on my channel icon in the middle.